Just like to say to Tony Jean, that was amazing. To think that you could play something with this hand, something with this hand, and have a third movement, incredible. Really, really incredible. Thank you. Yesterday morning, I woke up early, really early, and it was, as you remember, it was so cold. In the Headmaster's house, we have these electronic thermostats, and it's set to kick in at 6 a.m. and the radiators come on. In the middle of the night, it gets down to like 50. And so it was before 6, and I exhaled and I could see my breath, and I knew that part of that was probably bad breath, but most of it was the difference in temperature, but it was cold, and I didn't want to get out of bed. But the day before, I'd run into my father, who lives in town, and I had promised him that I would meet him for breakfast at the Salisbury Volunteer Ambulance Building, where the squad was hosting a pancake breakfast. So I'm lying in bed and I'm thinking about how cold it is, and you know, probably imagining not very delicious Bisquick pancakes and instant coffee, and then all of a sudden it hit me how unbelievably selfish I was being. Like many small towns in this country, Salisbury has to do a lot on its own. And the Volunteer Ambulance Squad is one of those things that we probably all take for granted all too often. It was founded by a guy named Reese Harris, who lived just across the street from the school, and whose son, Billy Harris, is a member of the class of 1976 at Salisbury. Great guy. And the thing that I love about the Salisbury Ambulance Squad is when things go bad, really bad, they come running. Car accidents, house fires, heart attacks, injuries on the playing field, they've been up here from time to time. They show up in the most desperate of times. And my friend and colleague Roger McKee, who's sitting in front of me, has been a member of the SVA for many, many years. If you ever see him with a walkie-talkie on his belt or a reflective jacket on, that means he's on duty. No acclaim, no name in neon lights, just a good guy with a big heart doing his part to serve his fellow citizens in a small New England town. So I got out of bed and I grabbed 2 of my children and we went down, headed out into the cold and went down to the building. And it was full of people smiling, all walks of life, young, old, a lot of people that I knew. And the members of the ambulance squad were in their blue uniforms with a label that said SVA, and they were serving breakfast. And it was a fundraiser, of course, for a really important not-for-profit. And the thing that struck me is it was so obvious that they were so proud to be a part of something that was bigger than themselves. So proud to be part of something that was really, really important and good for our community. And I'm proud to know a lot of them as neighbors and friends. And breakfast, by the way, was delicious. Later on, I went, in the early afternoon, I went to watch the varsity squash team play in the 3rd place game here at our athletic center against Berkshire in the New England Championships. And in a pivotal match, 3rd former Toby Smith was down 9-7 in the 5th and last game of the match against a much bigger and much older opponent. And what happened? I will tell you because it was great. With grit and poise, Toby got the match to 10-all and then won the last 2 points for the huge win. It was great. It was really fun to watch. What did Toby do? He shook his opponent's hand, thanked him for playing, walked off the court kind of head down, humble, graceful, just like a Crimson Knight should do. And the team went on to win convincingly, and it was really exciting to watch. So congratulations to the varsity squash team and Coach Lamont. Finally, late in the afternoon, I was watching the final round of the AT&T Pebble Beach golf tournament. And in the cold weather, Pebble Beach looked really, really nice. Phil Mickelson was stalking another win, which would be his 5th at Pebble Beach in a long and storied career. A journeyman named Vaughn Taylor had played the round of his life that afternoon and was the clubhouse leader at 17 under. Mickelson, he of the 42 career victories and over $80 million in prize money, stood on the 18th tee needing a birdie to force a playoff with Taylor. Poor Taylor had struggled recently as a player, had lost his playing privileges on the PGA Tour, and the week before was in Bogota, Colombia, playing an event on the Web.com Tour, just hoping to make a big enough check to support his wife and young child. But we all knew what was coming, right? Mickelson would play great on the 18th, probably make a birdie to tie, maybe even make an eagle to win it outright, and Vaughn Taylor's hopes would be dashed. Well, what happened? Does anybody know? Mickelson missed a very makeable, almost easy birdie putt on 18, and the unheralded Taylor won. Won over $1 million in prize money and a 2-year exemption for all PGA events. And it was fun, and I loved that part, but I loved the interview afterwards even more. When he was interviewed afterwards, all Taylor could say was, "This isn't about me. So many people helped me get here. This is a victory for them. I owe so many people who have helped me." And then he began to cry. It was awesome. No pounding of the chest, no bravado, just thanks, just grace. Now in truth, his lack of ego is probably one of the reasons why he hasn't won more on the PGA Tour. But that doesn't matter. His deep humility was so refreshing, so endearing. So anyway, I went to bed that night feeling, what a great day. I'd seen some really interesting things and had some connections with some really great people. I want to switch gears now. I've been thinking a lot about heroes lately. Specifically, what are the traits that make someone heroic? And like all of you, I hope, I have my heroes. And the guy I had breakfast with yesterday, or Sunday morning, my dad, is my greatest hero. But there are others. And when I think about the people that I looked up to as being heroic, I also realize that they're all flawed in some way. Because the real truth is, and we all know this, no one's perfect, right? No one's perfect. But nonetheless, I have my own definition of hero. And I wonder, to the boys in here, do you ever think about what are the traits that you believe make someone a hero? What makes us idolize another human being? What are the traits that are so inspiring that we deem someone a hero? I asked a dozen or so of you yesterday in the halls and in the dining room, and I was surprised that I expected a set of different answers than I got. Most of you couldn't tell me off the top of your head who your hero was, or maybe you didn't want to share it, and that's okay too. But interestingly, I thought, truthfully, a lot of you couldn't tell me who your heroes were on a spur-of-the-moment question. And that says a lot to me about the society that we live in today. I expected to hear Peyton Manning, LeBron James, a recording artist, a League of Legends star, a movie star. Thank God no one said Kanye West. You see, today we seem to place the highest value on success and money and power and glitz and fame. Stuff like that is what garners our attention, and that's really too bad. The truth is, though, I kind of get it. Our heroes are tough to come by today. In the old days, when I was young, maybe someone would have asked me that, and I might have said the President of the United States or the Governor of the state of Connecticut, I don't know, a politician. But our politicians today, I feel like, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, have really let us down. They don't espouse any of the core values that we deem so important here on the hilltop: honor, integrity, loyalty, humility, even decency. God, you watch these debates lately, it's awful. Business leaders are guided by greed and what's profitable rather than what's responsible. The media, we can debate this all day long, but I think they're biased on both sides. They're guided by ratings and making money rather than reporting the truth. Heroes are tough to come by. Or are they? Have you ever thought that we may be using the wrong definition for hero? The wrong metrics? Is it possible that you don't have to read People magazine or watch CNN to find a hero? Maybe they're right in front of our eyes. In a moment, we're going to sing the Sarum hymn, and the second line is service and devotion. Sarum, that thy name be worthy. Service and devotion. Well, they're closely linked, right? Maybe we can say that we serve because we are devoted. And that we are worthy because we serve, because we are devoted. That we are part of something bigger. So I get back to my idea of who I think is a hero and what are the metrics that I use to define hero. And service is one of them. Someone who does something out of the goodness of his or her heart. You want an example? Did you know that every winter our colleague, our athletic director, Mr. Tim Sinclair, coaches a girls' hockey team? 3 times a week, a pack of girls don pink and purple uniforms and play on the red rink. The best time to watch is Saturday morning because that's when the little kids are playing. Ages 3, 4, 5, they can hardly skate. They got all the equipment on for the first time. And they're out there squealing with delight. And there are a few tears too, but mostly squealing with delight. And the entire morning, the rink is awash with smiling faces. It's really special. It's really special. And he created it all on his own to make a difference for these girls and to serve the community. Good for him. And good for those girls. Here's another one. And you all have been in the dining room on Friday nights in the fall and spring and seeing the little brothers from our town, little 5th and 6th grade boys from the local elementary school who come up to campus to play games and to have dinner. And most important, to make an emotional connection with an older brother. You guys. Meg Allen, Ronan Mulkrisky, Kirk Hall, and Beth Bernally came up with the idea and lead it. And a number of the boys sitting here today serve as big brothers, and they make it happen. And for those guys that serve, you got to know that you are a hero to those kids. To the boy that you look after, you are a hero. He is looking up to you. And that makes such a difference in his life. And I know a lot of these families as neighbors, and I can tell you, I see them in town, and they go on and on and on about how joyous their son is every time he's on this campus. Because he's got an older brother who can guide him and show him how to shoot a basketball and tell a joke and be his friend. It makes me proud to be part of the school community. And there are many others who serve, and I can't name them all today, but to me, those small town heroes, those are the purest of heroes. Those of you who know me well know that I'm a proud American. I love our flag. It's proudly displayed on the wall of my office. I particularly revere our military, the women and men who serve to protect us and keep us safe. Each of them is the quintessential small-town hero. And I'd like to finish this morning with a brief story about one such person, a guy that I've never met and only read about. His name was Major Thomas Griffin, and he was a navigator on a B-25 aircraft flying for the U.S. Navy. Major Griffin died in 2013 in a veterans hospital in Kentucky at the ripe old age of 96. But he was a legend, and I tell his story today because I think so highly of him. See, he was one of Jimmy Doolittle's raiders. If you have some time today, Google the Doolittle raid, or Jimmy Doolittle, or Jimmy Doolittle's raiders, and you'll find an interesting story, because I'm just going to tell a little bit about it. It was some months after Pearl Harbor in April of 1942. The U.S. was at war with Japan. Now that seems ironic, right? Because the U.S. and Japan are great friends now. We're close partners on the world stage. But 75 years ago, it was different. We were at war, and Major Griffin was serving on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific Ocean. And he was barely 25 years old. So, a few years older than you guys sitting in front of me. Part of a group of 80 men who volunteered for what they were only told was a very dangerous mission. Griffin and his pals oozed courage. They were asked to fly 16 B-25s off the deck of the USS Hornet, the first time that land-based bombers would ever be launched at sea. It's like the first guy who's going to be the guy that's going to bungee jump off a bridge. You have no idea how it's going to turn out. And their job was to fly over Japan and drop their payload of bombs. And the 80 men were known as Jimmy Doolittle's Raiders because Jimmy Doolittle piloted the first B-25 off the deck of the USS Hornet that day and was the leader of the raid. And initially, the men were told that they might not have enough fuel to complete their mission and get back to the Hornet and land on the carrier. They might not have enough fuel. And then on the day of the raid, they encountered a Japanese warship just a few miles away. So then they were told, you're not going to be able to get back to the carrier. You might not even be able to get over China where you can bail out and try and survive. All 80 men went anyway, volunteering for a mission that would probably result in their deaths. So they fly over Japan and they do their business, and the planes run into a storm which further depletes their fuel. And it's dark, it's now nighttime, and they make it, most of the planes make it to the coast of China, and they all bail out. And amazingly, more than 60 of them survived the mission. Major Griffin escaped capture that day, but didn't. About a year later, he was shot down over Sicily, Italy, on the 4th of July, 1943. And he spent the rest of World War II in a German prison camp. When the war ended, Griffin went home, married his high school girlfriend, had a bunch of kids, and worked as an accountant for his entire career in a small town. He was a good family man, he was beloved by his neighbors, and he never talked about his heroic efforts in the war. Very late in life, and this is another comment about his character, very late in life, his wife Esther became quite ill and was forced to live in a long-term care facility, about 3 miles away from where they lived, in their little house. And Griffin would get up every morning and he'd walk down to the long-term care facility and he'd care for his wife and he'd feed her and tell her stories and care for her. And then at night, he'd walk home with her dirty laundry and he'd wash and iron her clothes so that the next day she had something nice to wear. And he did this for 3 years until she finally died. Such was his level of devotion to his wife. Now you all have heard the phrase from the Bible, to whom much is given, much is required. Or maybe you've heard, to whom much is given, much is expected. Either way. In layman's terms, it means if we are blessed with such things as character and courage and curiosity and strength, talent, wisdom, it's our responsibility to use those positively for the benefit of ourselves, but for the benefit of everybody else too. Our neighbors, our friends, our family. My message today is any one of us can be a hero. And as a Salisbury man, this should be your mission. This should be your mission. To make a difference in the lives of others. Those around you, your family, your friends, your neighbors. This is your mission. To be heroic. Anyone can be a hero.